Well, as I say, you gotta just hit record. Gotta just press record. So, welcome to the Hawkeye Rising YouTube channel. I'm Clint, your host, your Hawkeye. Okay, it is evening. It's Thursday, February the 9th. As we know, yesterday, February 8th, was the birthday Joseph Amiot, French missionary, born 8 February 1718, and has the death date. I've seen two different listings now. There's the 8 October 1793 and 9 October 1793, and I think it was 9 October because 10/9 has showed up in enough places that leads your Hawkeye to say October 9th should be the date. An interesting point, though, if it's the evening, October 8th or 8 October, the evening time, could be considered October 9th in another part of the world, specifically Rome. We've certainly had events in Canadian history, and let's see, the Humboldt bus crash. Okay, now I'm going off script, so trying to put the year together. I think it was 2018, the same year that Francis Xavier's arm, just prior to 2 months prior to the evening of April 6th, and in media, it's scripted as after 5 p.m. Central. So Canadian would be is it Central Standard Time? I think our Saskatchewan would have been on where this bus crash would have taken place, and there's a whole convoluted story in it, around it, and there's even oh my goodness, why am I forgetting this? Xavier Laval. So we have a Xavier involved. We have 3 Logan characters, and Xavier was misidentified and as pronounced dead, and was pronounced alive. I think it was 2 days later in the hospital because he was misidentified. Anyway, the crash took place after 5 p.m. and when you do the time zone math, it would have been just after midnight in Rome, April 7th, Francis Xavier's birthday. Okay, so it's Jean-Joseph Amiot, yesterday's birthday. And we just happened to have an event in Quebec, Canada, a bus crash. I'm not going to get into that. That'll come in a few minutes. Okay, we are recording. Good. Okay, we're going to... How you doing? Thank you for... okay, first, listening to yesterday's stream, I apologize for the audio. I know there's a lot of clicking. Hopefully it didn't come through a lot. So there's that. And then there's this drone or some other stuff that was going on. So it's figuring out, okay, how, even though I have a dynamic, not a condenser mic, a dynamic mic, that you got to get relatively close to it. I think it was picking up vibration with the my computer mouse. So I'm figuring that part out. So obviously the cleanest audio as possible. I'm working on that. And yeah, so hopefully there's no audio clicks. I've checked the connections and so on. So hopefully all we can do is try it and make changes if needed. So that's what I'm trying to figure all this out. Okay, let's jump right in. Share screen. Now, this is just going to be off some notes I had prepared. Now, this is from memory. I haven't sent this yet, but I was preparing an email to Captain Colonel, but my the video, Johnny's video that I'm responding to has his, I believe it's his the Revelation 11 prophecy deciphered. And so whether there was a discussion between, sorry, I should have listened to this before coming on, but it prepared too long and a lot of time goes by and then it's like a missed opportunity. So anyway, the premise of this has to do with 1517 and essentially for me, Rome's response okay, I'll just stick to the notes for now. Okay, so why I believe 1534 over 1517, or at least to confirm the 1517 era, is the year. So we have the Luther Bible. Is a German language Bible, a translation from Latin sources by Martin Luther. The New Testament was first published in 1522, and the complete Bible containing the Old and New Testaments with the Apocrypha in 1534. Okay, I'm sorry. There's what I wanted to do with, putting these notes together is essentially nailing down, why I brought up April 20th, 1534 a lot, which inevitably brings up the Jacques Cartier name a lot, as far as Rome's response to what began. It didn't just necessarily begin with Luther, but something clearly began with Luther. 100 years prior to, in 1415, we have the 1415, so July 6th, the burning of Jan Hus, and the lore surrounding that, where he declared or prophesied that within 100 years, I think it was a white swan will emerge that you will not be able to touch. Essentially, the fires of the Inquisition will not be able to touch. And lo and behold, 100 years later, literally almost to the year, Luther emerged. Okay, Rome's response, in brief, to Luther in 1517. Yes, not just 1534. Many events took place 1517 onward. But for me, and as far as Canadian history goes, because for me, the immersion, the baptism, the Canadian history is essentially what brought me into all of this material. So I have, and cinematic references to this time and place in time and history. Okay, so Jacques Cartier's 20 April 1534 expedition to what would become Jesuit-founded Canada, America. Although earlier expeditions were taken, this one is extremely significant to me, as the Cartier expedition led to the erection of the 30-foot Gaspé cross on the 24th of July, 1534, provoking aggression, which led to the kidnapping of 2 indigenous youths. Okay. It's going to make sense. Okay, good. I'm sharing the screen. Good. Jesuit youths. 2 youths. Kidnapping of 2 young indigenous men, boys. Ages it's not certain. Who were brought to Francis I in Paris. So the King of France. Francis I in Paris, and almost certainly to Loyola. So Loyola at this time, in 1534, was at the University of Paris. I've not come across any specific citations that state that Cartier and Loyola crossed paths. However, inductive reasoning, Cartier went to Paris. Cartier took these boys to Paris, to Francis I, and at the exact same time, Loyola was in Paris. Okay, and almost certainly to Loyola himself for linguistic discernment and other purposes. We remember Jean de Brébeuf, part of his thesis, which is also listed on his wiki page, about all language groups essentially do lead back to Babel. And I believe that is the power of, and how potent Jesuit syncretism is because all language groups, all people groups go back to Babel. Okay, that is a whole other layered mess to get into. Fascinating subject matter. Okay, 15 August 1534, both on Cartier's ship returning to France and in Paris on the feast of the Assumption of Mary, okay, which is so August 15th, a special mass was held. Cartier led the mass aboard his ship, while Ignatius Loyola led the special mass with his 6 companions, founding the Society of Jesus. You have 13 October 1534. 13 October has it's a reference. That's a Knights Templar reference. 13 October 13th, 13 October 1307, Black Friday. So 13 October 1534, Paul III succeeds Clement VII. Clement VII died 25th September 1534. 18 October 1534, we have the affair of the placards. 3rd November. Let's fix that. November 1534, we have after Samhain, so the 31st October, All Saints Day, November 1st, and All Souls Day, which would have been 2nd of November. King Henry King Henry VIII, and the Acts of Supremacy. The Church of England was established. King Henry VIII replaced the Pope in England. You have William Tyndale Bible in part in 1534, the book that Shakespeare. Yeah, and your Hawkeye has a thesis, the beginning of a thesis, a hypothesis that Claudio Acquaviva is actually behind Shakespeare, behind Francis Bacon, behind Jesuit Toby Matthew, and thus what would become the English language. Those that own, remember, language, idea and thought, or language governs idea and thought. So provide the container, the language, contain the thought, control thought, lead thought, provoke thought, tell people what to believe. And what were the Jesuits, the schoolmasters, would become the schoolmasters of Europe and eventually North America. Who teaches this now? And I think even the captain made a statement in Romans of Mass Destruction that literally all any education, whether it's a Jesuit specific school or a Roman Catholic, any education, all education is a Jesuit education. Okay, the book that Shakespeare, Claudio Acquaviva, S.J., learned his English from, and what would become the language of the authorized 1611 King James version of the Bible. Tyndale was strangled and burned on 6 October 1536. Note, Jesuit Matteo Ricci was born 6 October 1552. Remember, Matteo Ricci, very prominent in infiltrating and converting China. Special status even until this day. What's the word? Can't think of the word. Okay, the Tyndale New Testament, printed in 1534. And then I throw up some points. Where do we know? 6 October. Let's check the stream. Okay, good. Maybe I should. I don't know if how this translates to you. Okay, I'll press on just because. Here we go. So where do we know 6 October? So we have Blade Runner 2049, 6/10/21. 6 October 21 or 21st century. So the colonel. So our Roy may have some better insight. There are Jesuit general dates that apply to the 21st of October. 20th Jesuit Superior General Thaddeus Brzozowski, born 21 October 1749, until his death on 5th of February 1820, was Jesuit general during the 7th August 1814 Jesuit order resurrection. So do we have cinematic reference to the Jesuit Superior General that saw the Jesuit order out of the suppression I can't remember the Latin name. The papal bull issued on July 21st, 1773, 1 year after Art of War was published. Art of War was translated by Jean Joseph Marie Amiot, who had a birthday yesterday on February 8th. Day of the bus crash in Laval, Quebec, Canada. So let's jump to some information about Thaddeus. My goodness. One moment. I am going to take a... How do I... Okay. Following the death of Gruber in 1805, the regional Polish Fourth Congregation met at Polotsk, again part of Lithuania, and elected Thaddeus Brzezowski as Superior General of the Society, which was still functioning in the territory of Russia. The newly elected general immediately sent a message to Pope Pius VII thanking him for having restored the society in Sicily. By then, a steady stream of young men was coming to Russia to join the society. I've not just yesterday, but in previous streams, that I believe Lorenzo Ricci not only didn't die in November 24th, 1775, but as Tupper Saucy, Jesuit short-woven Freemason, presented that Lorenzo Ricci, the unknown founding father of America, was present at the signing of the Declaration of Independence on his birthday, August 2nd, 1776. The actual date of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, not July 4th, not the 4th of July. Between 1803 and 1805, 103 candidates entered the novitiate in Polotsk, 23 of them already ordained priests. The total number of Jesuits grew to 333, mostly engaged in educational activities in 7 high schools in Russia, but also moving into pastoral work in Latvia and Lithuania. Where do I have a note? So two different notes. If you, at some point, the imperial crown of Russia, the crown that was presented to Catherine the Great, still exists to this day. The symbolism of the crown. I don't have it pulled up, but just something to examine. I believe it's symbolic of the 2 legs of the Nebuchadnezzar dream statue of Daniel, and in the crown, looking at it front on, so you have the separation, so the left and right hemisphere representing the 2 legs, but then in the center there's the phallic, there's the obelisk with there's 2 particular jewels, and below the top of which is the Maltese type or Maltese/Templar type cross, you have the oval. That oval always represents the papal mitre. You can find that in heraldry where it's very distinct as the mitre, and sometimes it's in either an oval or a circle. That is the papal mitre. Okay, Brzezowski worked tirelessly to obtain the general restoration of the society, both personally and through his delegate in Rome, Father Luigi Fortis, S.J. On his return from Napoleonic exile to Rome, Pope Pius VII lifted the suppression of the society on August 7th, 1814. So 41 years after Clement XIV suppressed the society, Pius VII celebrated Mass in the Church of the Jesuit and formally promulgated the papal bull of restoration, Solicitudo Omnium Ecclesiarum. Jumping down, Tsar Alexander prohibited Brzezowski from leaving Russia. Brzezowski therefore appointed Luigi Fortis as his representative in Rome from 1814 until his death in 1820. Brzezowski had managed to secure the continuity of the society from his exile in Russia, and I think with the help of Lorenzo Ricci. And then, of course, Blade Runner, if we remember the tree, which had the inscription of 61021. And then who else has both a birthday and a death day of October 21? Okay, speaking of which, remember there's ideas, many ideas, which we won't get into here. The Blade Runner films brought up. in the first Blade Runner, you have the Methuselah syndrome, and in Blade Runner 2049, you have Galatians syndrome. And by definition, there's a tie-in to Galatian syndrome, to Methuselah syndrome, to Genesis chapter 6, to Genesis chapter 5, but also to Genesis chapter 6. And genetics, that's another, but there's something there. So, okay, who else has both a birthday and a death day on October 21st of October? So we have Callan Lynch, so remember, son of Mary and Joseph. How about Nosebleed Joseph? Caleb Lynch of Assassin's Creed, son of Mary and Joseph. Note 1759, a year too close to Lorenzo Ricci's generalate to be a coincidence. Remember, Lorenzo Ricci began his generalate 21st of May, 1758. And then, of course, we have the clock striking 1800. I don't know if that's the. Remember, is this? Are we being shown that Lorenzo Ricci lived to the 1800, to whether the exact actual year 1800? I don't know. But in this scene, Callan Lynch, played by Fassbender, gets a lethal, or supposedly a lethal injection, but he's not. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen this. He doesn't die. He's shipped to is it Madrid or Barcelona, Spain. Yeah. So we have 1759, and then 70, the number 72. So 72 with the original, so the language groups again at Babel, and also a 72 and 73 for me are always a reference to Lorenzo Ricci, because Lorenzo Ricci was 72 and turned 73. And how do I say this? I say this as the United States of America was the gift that Lorenzo Ricci gave to himself on his 73rd birthday. That's why. Okay, let's now what? Okay, I know I'm going to have to change. Stop screen. Present. Share. Let's see. So we have this event. Let me just confirm we're sharing. I hope. Yeah, again, it's just learning by doing. Okay, so we have Jesuit trained, was Brebeuf college. Okay, doesn't matter. Attended college, Brebeuf. So by extension, Jesuit trained, practicing Roman Catholic, raised Roman Catholic. Justin Trudeau, son of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, current Prime Minister of Canada, is standing in front of. I didn't catch the name of this church, but there it is. Here's our IHS, our Jesuit Isis Horus Serapis monogram. Addressing the community as the community mourns. So I think there were 2 4-year-old children, which I don't know if there's, again, we getting some Sun Tzu and drum beats, some communication with the team here. We got child 44. Okay, let's go to stop screen, present. Laval drafts, Jean Joseph, Assassin's Creed, Ben Affleck, The Town. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see. Is this the one? No. Okay, I'll jump to this. Let's see if we're sharing. Make sure we're sharing this. What I did want to point out. So apparently there's a bush with marked 1818 and driven by. I have to get his name. Garderie Éducative Saint Rose. And so let's see. So we have the namesake. You have Saint Rose or Rose of Lima. So we born 28 April 1586. We have her patronage. So embroiderers, sewing lace, gardeners, florists, people ridiculed or misunderstood for their piety, for the resolution of family quarrels, against vanity, indigenous peoples of the Americas. But I did want to point out, so the 20th of April, and of course, 20th of April is significant to us because we have Cartier, which I say that the beginning of the beast out of the sea, coming to empower the beast out of the earth, literally began April 20th, 1534. And not only that, let's see. Okay, so I'm not sharing the screen of Rose of our Saint Rose. Sorry about that, jumping ahead. Okay, let's go back to the map. So the thing is, when I saw this, I'm like, okay, are they back to just, I'm not saying this is a fabricated event. I'm not saying anything. I'm just pointing out some things that are meaningful for me and the team. But what's this? Rue Jacques Cartier. Like when as soon as I saw that, like, what's my first thought was, you bitch. So whatever happened, and the fact that it happened on Jean Joseph Marie Amiot's birthday. So back to this idea of, okay, there's a clear Sun Tzuan drumbeat. And of course, what pisses me off and pisses us all off is the fact that, okay, it's all in hindsight. Here are the clues that are left behind, which clearly points out, is this intentional? Is this a fabricated event? And again, this is not saying that this didn't happen or that nobody died. But the fact that it happened on Jean Joseph Marie Amiot's birthday, translator of Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and Rue Jacques Cartier just happens to be a stone throw from Garde Educative Saint Rose. And then you have the Trudeau standing in front of the IHS, where I think there was a vigil that was held, and also the name of. Okay, let me find the tab. I want to get this right while we're still together. Stop screen. Okay. No. Okay. Let's see, I'm making sure I'm sharing this. Okay, good. Yes, 1818 has a specific date or specific year, because again, who was the Jesuit Superior General during 1818? So we go back to Thaddeus Brzezowski, born 21 October 1749, started his Jesuit Superior Generalate August 7th, 1814. So the resurrection of the Jesuits. Okay. And the name of the bus driver, okay, what we know. So bus driver Pierre Ni Saint-Amand. You look up Saint-Amand and you get, no, this, not my forte at the moment, but great, 30 minutes. Hold on. Let's get back there. How did I do this? Settings. Giddy up. Okay. Rock and roll. Saint-Amand. Get this right. I thought I had this prepared. Pardon my Saint-Amandus. Okay. You have a Amanda's commonly called Saint Amand, was bishop of Tongeren, Maastricht and one of the great Christian missionaries of Flanders. You know, Christian in quotes. He's venerated saint, particularly in France and Belgium. His feast day is February 6th and October 26th. Okay, February 6th. Okay, and I realize I'm not sharing this screen, but I'll just, what I did want to point out, patrons, come on, where is it? I had found it. Okay, veneration. Known for his hospitality, Saint Amand is the patron saint of all who produce beer, brewers, innkeepers, and bartenders. He is also the patron saint of vine growers, vintners, merchants, and of Boy Scouts. Something going on here, okay? All right, here's the tab I'm sharing. And so authorities say a bus crash in Laval daycare on Wednesday was a deliberate act, but police say they do not know yet. They do not yet know what motivated it. 2 children are dead. 6 others were hospitalized yesterday. 2 of them have since been discharged. None of the children have been identified by authorities. They describe the behavior of the bus driver. There was which should obviously stick out. There's the screaming, and he tore all his clothes off. And okay, here we go. Our neighbor said the driver of the bus emerged from the vehicle after the crash and began tearing off his clothes and yelling incoherently. What the hell was going on? Okay. Our Rue Jacques Cartier doesn't get an honorable mention in the article, but it doesn't take your Hawkeye found it. 10 years he drove the 151 bus route, which runs between Montreal's Côte-Vertu metro station and Laval St. Rose neighborhood. Remember, we just covered St. Rose as well, and stopped near the daycare, according to Radio Canada. He was working on Wednesday morning. Okay, we know that. Oh my goodness, I can't even tell you the current. Again, key players, the names, and so on. I know the premier is Roman Catholic. His bio licit, and I can't even tell you his name at the moment. My bad. Anyway, just laid out some things to think about. Here we go again. But the fact, again, that we have, on the day that I'm talking about Jean Joseph Marie Amiot on his birthday, we have an event in Canada on his birthday with points that point to the Jesuits, the Jesuit Superior General, and we are, as I've said before, the 31st of July, which was Ignatius Loyola's death date anniversary, and his feast day, 2018. Canada was a 2-province nation. Now it is a single. It was on July 31st, 2018. We became a single Jesuit province. Provincial boundary lines are for us, not them. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much. Hopefully the sound worked. I've lowered the volume input, and hopefully, as I'll review this, hopefully the sound is a lot better. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for subscribing. I sometimes, of course, who am I? Just some dude with a computer. Is this an echo chamber? But again, if this is, even if there's a detail or two, it inspires you perhaps to do the same thing, do some digging. We are, and it's not painful anymore. We are not a so-called can't even say it, a Judeo-Christian nation. We are not founded on Judeo-Christian principles. By extension, we are actively participating as the beast out of the Revelation 13's beast out of the earth. Read the chapter. To some, it's scary, it's frightening. How many people would say, I don't read Revelation because the imagery is too scary. But considering that all of history has pointed to this time, these are certainly exciting times. And yes, it's a good time to be it's a good time to be angry. It's a good time to be angry. And it's a good time to have your ass ready to rock. Literally ready to rock, ready to go. So, okay. As we prepare, and as I'll also close, as the captain closes, resistance is rising. Thank you for being here. Okay, Hawkeye, this is your Hawkeye out for now.